So it should be 2 p.m. or around-ish 2 p.m. In Cleveland, Ohio, where you're joining from. Hello.
Hello, hello. Yes, it's about 2:30 in beautiful snowy Cleveland, Ohio.
That's good because it clearly shows me that I'm not falling behind the schedule. And you don't know that. That's an insider's knowledge, but my stage is at the biggest risk of being delayed, and that's because of me. And so I'm really sorry for the organizers because I might be somebody they are really worried about. And so probably I will not have too many questions at this point, but I just wanted to say that I appreciate your podcast. I've just listened to one of the recent episodes, and just 2 days ago, you just published that one that has to do with Canada. There's a lady in Canada that runs this incredible company, the biggest one when it comes to event staffers. And it
Yes.
would seem to be such a catastrophic vision for such a company because they would normally support so many companies, event planners, with people to work at the venue. But that was in the live events world. But she pivoted, didn't she?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, she did an amazing job of pivoting and started creating moderators for virtual events. And it is a powerful platform. And she also, in the live world, created a program for COVID ambassadors to allow her staff to start working at retail locations and commercial buildings so that they can help monitor the people coming in and out, make sure that the masks are being worn, make sure the distance is being held. And she did just an amazing job to keep her people employed.
That is wonderful. And I'm so glad that it worked for her. I mean, there probably have been some hard decisions to be taken, but that's obviously
Right.
with any crisis. And there's so many people commenting. Pamela is saying, amazing event. Odette, I like the 3 tracks and the live hosts. Alexei, the event is great. Very nice event. And so we have quite a fan base. And I'm so glad that 123 people are with you, Jim. And so this is your turn. Please.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Welcome everybody to my part of the event. It is my session is called Rock Solid Tips for Getting Attendees to Show Up and to Love Your Event. And I don't have my clicker on, so if someone can hit the next slide for me, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. So, what I want you to do before I get started, I want you to drop in the chat. Let me know what is your biggest struggle with especially with virtual events, with online events. Is it getting people to show up? Is it getting engagement? What is it? Is maybe it's the results that you're getting from the online events. Whatever it is, drop that in the chat so that I can take a look at those later and maybe put together a podcast episode around your event or around your biggest struggles, because that is really, I'm here to serve. I am here to serve. So we can go to the next slide, please. I want to tell you a little bit about me real quick before we get going. I am the host of the Trade Show University podcast for virtual and live events, and I've been running this. I've got over 75 episodes out there, just fantastic. I'm just getting such great response. And the whole point is I want to help companies do events better. Whether you're a show producer, whether you're an exhibitor, whether you're a sponsor, I want you to be able to do it better. So that's what the podcast is all about. You get the next slide. So, like I said, we got over 75 episodes, 40 plus interviews of amazing, amazing industry experts and insiders, people that really make a difference out there and are coming on the podcast to share their insights. And so please check that out. Hundreds of tips over these 75 episodes. We hit public relations, marketing, goal setting, staffing, training, how to use video, how to engage better, and so much more. So check us out, all the major podcast platforms. Just do a search for Trade Show University, and I trust me, you will you will enjoy, and you're going to get my energy, and you're also going to get some great results. So let's hit the next slide. And one random fun fact about me. I was like sharing a fun fact. So one more slide. I love sand sculpting. This is my passion when I'm not talking about trade shows, when I'm not talking about events. I love to sand sculpt. I love to be on a beach somewhere and just to sculpt for hours. So that is my secondary passion. Unfortunately, I live in Cleveland, Ohio, so I have to travel to be able to do this because Cleveland is not a great beach town. We have a couple beaches, but the sand isn't quite as good as it is in tropical paradise. So anyway, let's dive into this, and let's if we can hit the next slide, please. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about getting people to show up. So I've got 6 tips for getting people to show up, and then we're going to flip it, and I've got 6 tips for when they're at your event, how to get them to get the most out of it and to leave happy. So we'll start with the first 6 tips, getting people to show up. I'm going to talk pretty fast as I already am now. I've got a ton of information here, so just buckle up and stick with me. Maybe take some notes as we go along. So let's hit the next slide. The first thing, I want you to be aggressive in your marketing. When you're trying to get people to come to your event, first you want to get them to register, and then you want to get them to show up, right? So what you need to do, you need to be blunt with your messaging and with your marketing. You need to be bold, be out there. Tell people what they're going to get. Tell people what they're going to get. Don't be too clever. Don't be too boring. Don't be bland. Make sure that you are grabbing their attention. And we all know in marketing, writing the good headline is so important to get someone's attention. So make sure that your headline stands out. So what I want to do is I want to give you, first thing I want to share with you is I want to tell you something that I learned many, many years ago from a mentor of mine. He said, Jim, confusion is never a good marketing strategy. So make sure you are not confusing your clients, your customers, people that you're trying to get to your event. Because how many times have we looked at an ad and we're just scratching our heads going, what do they mean? I don't understand what they're trying to tell me. So make sure that you are clear and you're bold. But I want to share with you 2 headlines, and you tell me which one of these is better for you. Which one of these would draw you in better. So let's next slide, please. So these are 2 actual headlines I got in this past week. Okay, the first one, new webinar added. Yay. That's not going to grab my attention at all because I have no idea what the webinar is about. I really have to take my time to dig in. And who's got time to sift through every single email you get? So that did not grab my attention, other than the fact I needed to put it in here as a don't do this kind of headline. And then the second one, 6 performance habits to take back 2021. This grabbed my attention because 2020 stole my year. They just stole my year. How about you? Everybody who is on here, we all kind of had our year stolen in 2020. And so they're going to tell us 6 performance habits to take back 2021. I want to learn that because personally or in business, that is going to grab my attention. I want to be there at that one. So make sure your headline is well crafted. It's bold. It grabs your attention. And run it past other people. Let them give you some feedback as well. So that's tip number 1, be aggressive in your marketing. So next slide, please. Tip number 2, give an incentive to people to actually show up. Once they've registered, and even before they've registered, tell them above and beyond the information you're going to get from this webinar, you're also going to get something of value that you can't get if you don't show up. So if it's on a replay, you're not going to get it. So maybe you're going to give them a free assessment of their business. Of course, this all depends on what your business is and what your product and what your service is. Maybe you're going to have a special guest as a part of your webinar or part of your virtual event, and you're going to do an exclusive Q&A session just with the people that show up. Maybe you're going to give them a 30-day access to your program. Or maybe you're going to give them something that they normally would have to pay for if they're doing business with you, to kind of give them a taste of what is it like to do business with you. Or maybe you're just going to give some door prizes, gift cards. Everyone loves gift cards. And if they know they have a chance to win something or get it just by attending, that is a great incentive for them to not just register, but to show up. So that is the second one. Give an incentive. Let's go to the next slide, please. The third tip is to offer multiple times for your event. Everyone is busy. Anyone have a calendar that looks like that? That is not mine, but many weeks mine looks like that. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are nodding their heads right now going, yes, yes, that is my calendar right there. Everyone's busy. So how many times have you gotten an invitation for a webinar, for a virtual event, an online event, and you look at your calendar, you go, I just can't make it. I can't, I've got another meeting that day. I've got something else going on that day. So for you, if you are planning a virtual event, don't hold just one time. So if it's a shorter event, like a 1 or 2 hour event, like a webinar, maybe have one in the morning, one in the afternoon, or have it on 2 different days of the week, or maybe even more than that. But if you're going to do that, if you have a short event, make it live every time. Don't do a live one time and then replays. Live beats replay. Live beats replay. You know why? Because as an attendee, they have an opportunity to drop questions in the chat, or they have an opportunity to interact in a way that they can't on a replay. So make sure that you are offering that opportunity for them to get live, get with you live. Plus, if you are selling a product, selling a service, selling something, or getting people to the next step at the end of your event, live converts better than replay every single time. Live converts better. So make sure you do that. But if you have a long event like this, Spark of Change 2021, if you have a longer event, make sure that you maybe have a replay available for everyone who can't make it on the day of the event, because we are all busy. We're all busy. So make sure you do that. Offer multiple times. So that's tip number 3, offer multiple times. Let's go to the next slide, please. Tip number 4, use different kinds of reminders. Okay, take a look at this picture. Does anybody, when they open up their email, maybe after a weekend, and you see the number of emails that are in your inbox, doesn't it feel like that you've just got a million pieces of email just flying at you? If so, drop yes in the chat. That would be great. Just drop that in the chat. But here's what I want you to do. Because I know I've registered for webinars, I've registered for online events, and what happens is that I've got all these emails, and the reminders for the webinar and the reminders for my virtual event are all email based, so they're mixed in with all that clutter. Make sure that you are using alternate types of reminders. So get their phone number, send them a text message, maybe give them a phone call. It's a personal phone call or an automated responder type of phone call. Or even, how about this? I love this idea. After they've registered, set up a private Facebook group, get them into the Facebook group, and now you could start interacting with them in a great and intimate way before your event. So when your event rolls around, they've already been talking with you, they've talked with other attendees, and now they're ready for your event. So try a different way to remind people about your upcoming event. That is tip number 4. So if we go to the next slide, please. Tip number 5, why don't you try changing it up and add a piece of physical in with your virtual? So what this means is this. Everything is done virtually, right? So we get a million emails, we get a million the webinars that we're invited to. There's so much there. How do we bust through the clutter? Get their address when they register, the real address where they're at, not their work address, because a lot of times they're not at their work address. They might be at home. So make sure you get the address they're at. And even as something as simple as giving a printout of their agenda and then dropping it in the mail, so they have something in their hands that's physical that they can look at, and as a reminder, it could be on their desk, it could be on their bulletin board, and they can have that physical reminder. It's not a big expense for you to drop that into the mail to all of the possible attendees. Okay, or how about something that's a reminder of that live event that they're missing, and do a name badge. print out a name badge, drop it in the mail to them. You could even use have a sponsor for the lanyard to get their name on that logo, or their logo on the lanyard itself. Send them a name badge. You could even have some sort of a contest or promotion for wear your lanyard during the event, and give away prizes for people that play along. Another thing that you could do is giveaways. At the beginning of 2019 or no 2020, the beginning of 2020, right before the busy show season and conference season, expo season, a lot of companies stocked up on printed promotional items with their logo on them. And when COVID happened and all the events got canceled, they had all these cases and cases of these pens and squishy toys and all sorts of things with their logos on them, nothing to do with them. Some people still have all those. Get those in the hands of the people that are attending your virtual event. It's going to cost you a little bit, but it can mean the world for people to actually show up at your event. So that is tip number 5. Combine the physical with the virtual. Get creative. Thanks for changing the slide. And here's tip number 6. Charge them. This was, I believe this was in the keynote today. We have got to come back to actually charging people to attend our virtual events, because we invest a lot of time. It costs money to put these things on. And guess what? If it's free, there's a lot of people that will register and just won't show up. They just won't show up because they have other things that come up. We're at home. The kids are at home from school that day, whatever it is. We get distracted. They get some skin in the game. Even if it's a few dollars or a few pounds, they get some skin in the game. Okay. And so once they do that, they're like, oh, shoot, I've got to show up. And here's a tip that I learned from Tony Robbins years ago. Those who pay attention. Those who pay attention. So when they're at your event, they are going to be all in and paying attention. So that's tip number 6. We are going to charge them to attend our virtual event. So that's the first 6 tips of how to get people to actually attend, to get them to register and then get them to attend. So let's flip out the next slide, please. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get them to love your event and then leave happy. Just like this little guy here, right? You stare at him. It's hard not to smile. It's hard not to just be joyous, okay? And this is how you want your attendees to feel when they're at your event. So I'm going to give you 6 tips to have them love your event and leave happy. So let's flip slide to tip number 1 to have them love your event, and that is to engage early and to engage often. So you want to engage with your attendees. Do things like I've said, hey, drop something in the chat, drop questions. And please, if you have questions as we go along here, please drop those in the chat. Bring people in live if you have the opportunity to do that. If you have the capability, have an attendee that has a question, you could bring them on live and have that live open chat that's going to be great value to them and great value to the other people that are attending that conference. You could do things like polls, quizzes, but whatever you do, set the tone early. So right out of the gate, you should start engaging right out of the gate and do it early, like I said, and do it often. So that's tip number 1 for getting people to love your event, is to engage with them early and often. Let's flip the slide, please. Tip number 2, use short and quick segments. Our attention spans are so short these days. And oh my gosh, you think about the days of live events when you could do a 60-minute workshop, a 90-minute workshop, 2 hours. You can't do it. You can't do it on the other side of a screen. You're going to lose everybody because our attention spans are short. We've got so many more distractions at home. And so here's a couple tips number one, keep those segments short. Get multiple speakers to speak on the same topic, just like we are today. This is fantastic. These are short, quick segments, 20, 25 minutes, and then we're on to the next one, Great speakers, one after another. The energy stays high when you do that. Or if it's just you and you want to do this, break into subtopics. So take your big topic, break it into small bite-sized segments, and go for maybe 10 minutes to get a quick break in there, change topics, and keep going. So you can keep that energy high, keep the engagement going. But that's tip number 2, short, quick segments. So let's flip the slide, please. Tip number 3, use more pictures and less words. Okay, who remembers this slide? Yeah. Well, yeah, I used it 2 slides ago. This picture, And I like this because this picture says so much. What's happening in this picture? They're getting engaged. And that's what the word I want you to remember is to engage. So pictures are powerful. People don't remember slides filled with words and bullet points and things like that. They don't remember. And when you have a slide filled with, well, let's flip the slide. Has anyone seen a slide like this before? If you could change the slide for me, please. Has anyone seen a slide like this before during a presentation? Yes, we've all seen it. And what happens when a slide like this comes on? You're spending all of your effort as an attendee trying to read the slide. You're going, what does that say? And while I'm trying to read the slide, I can't hear what the presenter's saying. So get one more slide, please. Where you want less is more. Less is more. You want to put less, use fewer words, and please don't clutter it up. Use more pictures because people remember pictures and have those pictures mean something so that they resonate with the audience and they tie to your content. So that's tip number 3, to use more pictures and less words. All right, let's flip to the next slide. Tip number 4, use breakout rooms. If you are on a platform where you can take your audience and put them in a separate breakout room, like you can do it with Zoom and a lot of these amazing platforms, do it because it gives people an opportunity to now get into a small group and talk about the topic. Because when you're just sitting there and like you're doing right now, you're listening to me, please, drop stuff in the chat if you have anything to say. But when you get into a breakout room, you're in an intimate group. And I would suggest keep the group small, maybe 3 to 6 people at the most, because you want everyone to have the opportunity to interact, to talk to each other. It's a great networking tool. I have made some amazing connections in a Zoom room before that have led to amazing things. And like I said, it gives everyone a chance to speak, but keep those segments short. So if you put everyone in a Zoom room, keep it to 5-10 minutes. Don't go much beyond that, and then bring them back to keep that energy up and keep everyone active and moving. So that's tip number 4, use breakout rooms. Next slide, please. Tip number 5, give more than expected. Number 1 is I want you to bring your best content every single time. Bring your best content, bring your A game, bring all your secrets, all your industry inside information. And I've had some consultants say, why would I do that? Why would I do that? Because they're not going to want to, if I give them everything, they're not going to want to do business with me. Yes, they will. They're going to love, because they're going to say, oh my gosh, if he gave all that information for free, what's it going to be like if I actually hire them? So bring your best content, have them leaving going, wow, that was amazing, and bring some wow moments. Which leads me to this picture. That is actually my son on his 20th birthday. We went out. He wanted to go to this place he had heard of for dessert. We'd never been there. And so we get there and we explain that it's his birthday, and they bring out this sundae that was a monster. It was probably as big as his head. He was absolutely thrilled. And then they made the wow moment even better. And when we got the check, they didn't even charge us for the sundae. It was just amazing, just amazing. So just had to share this. And so that's tip number 5, give more than what's expected. And tip number 6, what I just did, tell stories. As kids, there's this picture that's here of someone telling a group of little kids story. Remember story time when we were little kids, or maybe you've done that with your own kids at home. Why is story time so magical? Because you're getting the kids into the emotions, you're getting them happy. Oh, what's going to happen? What's next? And you get them involved. And when you use emotions, people remember better. They remember, and you get them to understand at a different level what you're trying to tell them. So make sure you tell stories. And it's not just for kids, it's for adults too. Just think about it as adults. How many of us watch things like Game of Thrones or Mandalorian or Tiger King, or pick a show that's your favorite show? It's a story. It's an ongoing story that drags you in. So think of what stories can you tell about your business, and then tell those stories, and you're going to have people smiling and loving your event. So next slide, please. So as a wrap up, Let's go over our tips one more time here to get people to show up. Be aggressive in your marketing. Give them incentives above and beyond the topic you're going to be covering. Number three, offer multiple times. Not don't just do your event one time. Offer multiple times for people because we have all busy schedules. Number four, use different reminders, not just email. Use texting. Use Facebook groups. Use and be creative with what you want to do. Number five, combine your physical with the digital. Give them something tangible they can hold in their hands during your virtual event. And number six, charge them. Give them something because they will show. They You might get a lower registration rate, but you're going to get a much higher show up rate. Okay, so those are the 6 tips to get them to show up, and now the 6 tips to love it, to love the event and leave happy. Engage early and often. Use short, quick segments. Use more pictures and less words. People remember pictures. Use breakout rooms if you can. Give more than expected, and then tell stories and leave them happy. So that wraps mine up. Flip side, please. And so what I want you to do, check out Trade Show University. You're going to get great value out of it. So just look on your favorite platform where you listen to podcasts and get over to my website, tradeshowu.biz. That's tradeshow.biz. And I've got a gift for you. So if you go there, I've got my ultimate goal setting workbook just for events. So go over there, just sign up for the newsletter, and I will send you that workbook, my gift to you. And I am done. That was a ton of information in a short period of time, but let's hit some Q&A.
Yeah, that was a ton of information, Jim. But I do
Oh my
appreciate
gosh,
it.
it was fun.
It was fun. And I wonder how much content can you actually squeeze into a 20-minute segment? I feel like you've reached the most of it.
I went to give the maximum. I felt, oh, should I cut some of this out? No, I'm not going to cut out. I'm just going to talk faster.
I understand that. And so tell me, please, how many of these pieces of advice do you think people have already been using? And how much of it is still, forgive my Latin, terra incognita? I mean, the land that they don't know.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I think people are using maybe little bits and pieces of some of this. I think what I don't see a lot of people using the physical. They're not mailing things out. And I don't think enough people are using just bigger visuals on their presentation. We have this tendency to put too many words that we think that people are going to read everything and retain everything. So I'd like to
Yeah.
see more people doing that.
And I'd like to give you one good example from Poland. Actually, a company from my hometown, Poznań, did that thing for their employees. So they had this Christmas gala event, which was obviously online. And so on that day, each of them, and I feel like it was 500 employees, would be reached by a courier that would, like a delivery guy, who would give them a really nice box with some souvenirs, some small gifts for Christmas, but also with this gingerbread tea. And there was this particular moment of that event when they were kindly asked to actually make themselves that tea. And I feel like that was the moment when they actually felt like we're all in this together.
Yes, yes, that's a brilliant example, and I love that when you get everybody, even though you're in 100 different places around the globe, you're all doing the same thing. Now you've become family, you've become a community. That's a wonderful example.
I like that very much too. And I also enjoy your advice about having people pay for the event because it doesn't have to be expensive.
Yes,
But then there is
right.
something special about our minds, and it makes us not really care about the things that we get for free. And then if you pay just $5, that completely changes your attitude, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Like you said, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but if it's something, all of a sudden it's like, I don't want to waste that money. I spent good money on that and I need to attend. I need to get my money's worth. Absolutely.
So, would you sometimes consider having this small fee that wouldn't really make a difference in terms of financial turnout of the event, yet suggest it because it would make people more prone to actually really show up?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to increase your show up rate. And here's something you could even do, and you can add this to it, is have all the money go to a charity. So even if it's not a lot of money,
Perfect match.
not only will it get them to show up, but they'll feel good about what they're paying as well.
I know, and it's not that we're being sarcastic about it, but that we can actually kill two birds with one stone, so to say, the British way.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I love it. Love it.
Yeah. So I wonder about the engagement, building that with your attendees for the whole year. How would you do that? I mean, would you keep on sending them small gifts?
You could, it depends on your budget. It depends on your budget. You could
For
do
sure.
something small, and again, you gotta be careful because if you're sending things to the office and no one's at the office because they're all working from
Too
home,
bad.
it's not gonna do you any good. So you wanna make sure that you are very cognizant with about asking for their real address where they're at, not just the work address.
And coming back to that money question, what would be the minimum suggested fee for participating in an event, or maybe one that you have seen in your career?
Well, that's a great question, and I think a lot of events that I've seen where they have charged were live events in the past. So there's a benchmark of saying last year to attend our live event, it was $299. But now that we're going virtual, and they make it much less than that. Maybe it's $99, but it's still something. It's still something to get them to attend because these, like these are not cheap events. The studio you're in costs money to have that capability. So it's not fair for you to keep giving these wonderful events. We're thankful that you did for this one, but it's not fair to continue to be able to do that. You can't continue to operate a business without money coming in.
I know this one was exceptional because we've all volunteered and geared up so that we can just inform the industry and just achieve more. And my last question would be about
Yeah.
the next favorite guest of yours when it comes to your podcasts. Would you ever consider inviting somebody from Europe?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would love to have. I have quite a few listeners around the world, so I would love to. I would be open to. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, Jim@tradeshowu.biz, send me an email or go to my
And you know what?
website and fill out the form.
You know what? I'll do it personally.
Absolutely, I would
I'd
love to
love
have you
that.
on. That would be
Thank you very much.
your
Thank you,
experience
Jim,
would be
and
fantastic.
have a wonderful day. It was a lot of information and really just squeezed. So you're good at that.
Thank you so much, and thank you for hosting this event. And it's been an honor to be here.
Thank you very much.